There has been a lot of discussion around fair use and copyright abuse on YouTube lately, especially following the video by Channel Awesome and Nostalgia Critic with the hashtag WTFU, Where's the Fair Use? The videos on fair use have been focusing on how certain channels or how certain companies are abusing the fair use and the DMCA takedown notice system, but I'm going to tell you what other people aren't, which is how anybody on YouTube can abuse the copyright system and why it is so important to fix. Boop boop ba-doop. Just this week, Nostalgia Critic on Channel Awesome made an excellent video covering fair use, citing the problems that many creators have had to deal with in trying to deal with fair use abuse on YouTube. So I'm going to leave a link to his video in the description below. He covered a lot of the groundwork that I originally wanted to cover, so now I don't have to, and you could check out his video on that. Now, that video primarily focuses on how fair use is ignored by companies who decide to abuse the copyright system and copyright tools available to them on YouTube in order to either censor creators or simply not allow them to monetize their works that involve any of that company's content. Now, that's a serious problem, but there's an even bigger one, which is that it's not just companies that can abuse this system. Anybody, including you, can abuse it too. And I'm going to tell you what every YouTuber is afraid to discuss because we are all terrified of this happening to our channels, which is that anyone at any time could take down a YouTube channel without any proof by abusing the copyright system. This is an extremely important issue that YouTube needs to fix. So first, I'm going to start us out with a primer on the DMCA and fair use and how copyright works as a whole and on YouTube. And then we are going to dive in to the specific flaws in YouTube's policies that allow it to be abused and leave creators with no recourse. So first, let's start at a high level. Copyright law in the United States of America. The information I'm referencing is available in the description below, but all of this is from the website copyright.gov, which is the website of the United States Copyright Office, which is a department of the Library of Congress. You can see that copyright law is long and complex. But one section that's being discussed quite a bit lately is fair use, which is section 107. So in Title 17 of the United States Code, under section 107, we have limitations on exclusive rights, fair use. And this is where the 4 factors that people reference when they are discussing fair use can be found. Now, fair use exists to protect instances where copyrighted material may be used without getting express permission from the copyright holder of that material. The fair use of a copyrighted work, including such use by reproduction, for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, including multiple copies for classroom use, scholarship, or research, is not an infringement of copyright. In determining whether the use made of a work in any particular case is a fair use, the factors to be considered shall include 1. The purpose and character of the use, including whether such use is of a commercial nature or is for non-profit educational purposes. 2. The nature of the copyrighted work. 3. The amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole. And 4. The effect of use upon the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. Now, all these factors must be weighed in combination to decide if a specific case is fair use. So in one case, some of the factors may fall in favor of fair use and other factors may fall against it, and some factors are weighted more heavily than others. In fact, if you go to copyright.gov, you can see an entire list of cases that have been tried for fair use, and these all set different forms of precedent in different cases. So fair use serves to cover cases that don't need direct permission in order for copyrighted content to be used. But let's step back and look at copyrighted content as a whole. How can a copyright holder protect their copyrighted content from being used if they don't think it's being covered by fair use? Look no further than the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 1998, or as it's so warmly known within the community, the DMCA. Amongst other things, Title II of the DMCA, Online Copyright Infringement Liability Information Act, creates limitations on the liability of online service providers, like YouTube, for copyright infringement when engaging in certain types of activities. Now, there's one specific section of Title II that we're going to look at very closely. Section 512 of the DMCA contains what are called safe harbor permissions that exist to protect sites like YouTube who are hosting material that might contain copyrighted content, where if they follow a certain set of rules, they are considered under safe harbor, which means that they are not legally liable for hosting that copyrighted content. Now that we have that overview of fair use and the DMCA, we're going to take a look at how it is actually applied on YouTube and how YouTube specifically handles this, because what we're going to do as a whole is we are going to take a look at YouTube systems and see where the flaws are that need to be fixed. Now, YouTube has two very distinct systems for handling copyright. One is the Content ID system, and the other is the Copyright Strike system, which is what handles DMCA takedown notices. So we'll start with copyright strikes. YouTube has a 3 strikes and you're out policy when it comes to copyright. If you receive a copyright strike on your channel, which is when a company decides to submit a DMCA takedown notice of your video is immediately removed from YouTube. Then the content creator who received the strike has 3 options. 1, they can wait for it to expire. The strike will expire in 6 months as long as the content creator completes copyright school and receives no additional copyright strikes during that time. 2, get a retraction. You can contact the person who claimed your video and ask them to retract their claim of copyright infringement. 3, you can submit a counter notification. If your video was mistakenly removed because it was misidentified as infringing or qualifies as a potential fair use, you may wish to submit a counter notification. So what happens when you submit a counter notification? A counter notification is a legal request for YouTube to reinstate a video that has been removed for alleged copyright infringement. At this point, the counter notification is forwarded on to the claimant, along with your legal personal information. Are you seeing a potential problem there yet? Now, once the claimant receives your counter notification, they have 10 business days to initiate legal proceedings against you. And during this entire time, your video will be offline and no one can see it. They must submit the document number of the legal case they've initiated against you to YouTube as proof in order to keep your video down. And if they don't, your video will be restored. And if they do, well, they'll see you in court. Now, from the moment they initiate that DMCA claim, the content creator will receive 1 copyright strike against their account. Are you seeing a second problem here? I'll come right back to it. Now let's take a look at Content ID claims, which are separate from copyright strikes or DMCA takedown notices. YouTube has a system called Content ID, through which every video as it is being uploaded, or even once it's uploaded, is scanned against a database of content that companies have submitted. And if it matches that content, based on criteria that the companies select, your video may be monetized on behalf of that company so that they claim all the revenue from the video and not you. Additionally, they can choose to block your video in certain countries or even worldwide. According to YouTube's help, there are some cases where copyright owners don't want their material reused, and in this case, they may block the video, mute the video, or block the video on certain platforms. And once again, there are a host of options that you can do when you receive a copyright claim, the first of which is do nothing. But if the issue is music, you could also remove the offending music, swap the music, share revenue, or dispute the claim. Now, there's something very interesting here. If you dispute a claim without a valid reason, the content owner may choose to take down your video. If this happens, your account will get a copyright strike. So copyright claims can lead into the DMCA takedown notice system. So let's recap that and then look into all the problems. Here's how the process might start. A company files a copyright claim against your video. You can then file a dispute, citing fair use, and the company will have 30 days to respond. You can also file a dispute and wait 30 days for that company to do anything, during which time neither of you are making money from the video. Now, if they do respond and say they don't find your dispute valid, they will initiate the takedown notice process, which is where the DMCA process starts. So now, if they issue the DMCA takedown notice, you'll typically have 7 days to decide if you want to cancel your appeal or not. At which point, if you don't cancel your appeal, you will receive a copyright strike on your account and your video will be taken down. From here, the DMCA process continues as normal, where if you wish to dispute that strike and dispute the DMCA takedown, you must file a counter notification within 10 business days, then the claimant has 10 business days to initiate legal proceedings against you. And if they don't provide proof of doing so to YouTube, your video will be restored. Now for the interesting part. How can this be abused and how does it affect you? Well, first we'll take a look at how companies abuse it. Companies primarily abuse the Content ID system. One of the most interesting and most legally dubious forms of abuse that they can do is blocking your content worldwide before anybody can even see it. For example, this reaction video I did to a snippet of The Late Night Show with Seth Meyers includes me reacting to a segment he did called the Boston Accent Trailer. Now, as I uploaded it, before anybody could even see it, it got stuck during processing as the Content ID system was reviewing it, and it was immediately blocked worldwide, meaning that nobody could view it before I even had a chance to argue fair use. Now, I could have argued fair use without anybody seeing it, but I was being censored before I even had a chance to speak. Is this illegal? Yes, it arguably is. Now, I was lucky enough to work with Leonard French on this. He is a copyright lawyer who is also on YouTube, and he submitted to me the following.
Hey everybody, I'm Leonard French, and I thought I would take a minute and talk to you about the Lens v. Universal Music case and the effect it may have on YouTube and other recipients of takedown notices. Now, the Lens case is a copyright case from 2007 that was decided last September in 2015 in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The Lens case stands for the principle that copyright owners must consider fair use before sending copyright takedown notices. If they don't sincerely consider fair use before issuing a takedown notice, they could be liable for a misrepresentation under Section 512F.
He was kind enough to make an entire video out of it and post it on his channel, so if you are interested in learning more about the legal uses of Lens versus Universal and how it applies to YouTube, go ahead and check it out on his channel. The panel held that the DMCA requires copyright holders to consider fair use before sending a takedown notification, and that failure to do so raises a triable issue, which means that they could be held legally responsible as to whether the copyright holder formed a subjective good faith belief that the use was not authorized by law. So in a system where this video got uploaded and was preemptively blocked from being seen worldwide without being considered for fair use first, NBC Universal disregarded the legal precedent set by Lens versus Universal. So not only did NBC Universal disregard legal precedent, but the way YouTube handled this situation may arguably knock them out of safe harbor provisions. Now, this would need to be taken to court in order to be proven, but YouTube arguably knocked themselves out of safe harbor status by even allowing a system like this to exist. They are enabling companies to pull down content for copyright without requiring them to review if the content is covered under fair use first. But now we come to the biggest issue, the one that I purposely saved till the end, because everybody is terrified to talk about it. And this is the abuse of the DMCA takedown system that anybody can do. At least copyright claims are generally limited to companies, but the abuse of the DMCA system on YouTube can be taken advantage of by anyone. If I want to file a claim on somebody's video, even though I have no copyright ownership to it, I could simply submit a copyright infringement notification, and this will initiate the DMCA takedown process. Here, I can fill out whatever bogus information I want, the video will be taken down from YouTube, and YouTube will issue a copyright strike to the content creator's account. And if somebody who is intent to abuse the system really hates somebody, all they have to do is file 3 of these claims back to back. The content creator will receive 3 copyright strikes back to back, and their account will be terminated. It is as simple as that. But yet the solution is so simple and YouTube doesn't fix it. In fact, I even had this happen to me on my gaming channel. I received a bogus DMCA takedown notice on one of my videos when I first started my gaming channel, which happened to be created during Gamergate, and people were receiving a lot of hate. Now, as you can see, I received a DMCA takedown notice from a claimant who listed his name as Ruslan Sarney, and his email is uncleruslanboston@gmail.com. Now, at the time, I lived in Boston, but hadn't revealed that as any of my personal information to the public through my YouTube channel. And as you can see with a quick Google search, Ruslan Sarney was the uncle of one of the Boston bombers. So this DMCA claim was not only bogus, but it was also a terroristic threat made to let me know that 1, these people know where I live, and 2, they don't want me on YouTube. Now, I received a copyright strike because of this, and had I received 2 more strikes during that time period, my channel would have been wiped from YouTube completely. And because I didn't have much watch time on my channel at the time, I wouldn't have even had a good way to email YouTube for support. What's worse is, in order for me to dispute this claim, I had to reveal my legal personal information. As YouTube says itself on its website, when you submit a counter notification, please note that when we forward the counter notice, it will include the full text of the counter notice, including any personal information you provide. That would be my full name, my telephone number, and my address. So if you want to protect the channel you've worked so hard for, you have to reveal your personal information, which can be used by people to stalk you, to dox you, and to harass you, which is exactly what happened in my case. Now, there is no reason, no legal reason at all, that YouTube has to handle things this way. In fact, the only reason for YouTube to give copyright strikes at all is outlined under Title II of the DMCA, which says the service provider must adopt and reasonably implement a policy of terminating, in appropriate circumstances, the accounts of subscribers who are repeat infringers. However, that doesn't say exactly what the process of termination has to be. So YouTube, in my opinion, is being overzealous in how they choose to apply copyright strikes to accounts. There's no reason they have to apply these copyright strikes as soon as the DMCA process is initiated. Instead, they can wait until it's completed, and if the person refuses to fight the strike or legal action has been taken, there is no reason that YouTube has to initiate copyright strikes at the beginning of the process. If somebody initiates a DMCA takedown notice against a channel, what YouTube could do is wait until it's resolved instead of starting when it's initiated. And what this would do is it would give content creators, your YouTubers that you watch every day, a chance to legally defend themselves before their account gets shut down completely. Now, after the Lentz versus Universal decision was released, which happened on September 14th, 2015, Google wrote on its public policy blog on November 19th, 2015, saying that they are taking steps to make sure that fair use is reviewed before they take down videos. And even going so far as to say, we are offering legal support to a handful of videos that we believe represent clear fair uses which have been subject to DMCA takedowns. However, you'll notice that they are not supporting people who are subject to false content ID claims. That was a lot to go through. Let's take a look at the bigger picture and its implications. First, we've seen that there are unfortunately many ways that copyright can be abused using YouTube's current systems, both from companies and random people who simply don't like you. And when they decide to abuse you, they can shut you down completely and censor you before you even have a chance to speak. We saw that with the Content ID system, companies can use it to their advantage to censor you completely by preemptively blocking your video worldwide before it's been reviewed by a human for fair use and before anybody can see it. This goes against the ruling of Lentz versus Universal, meaning that that company, by not reviewing fair use, may be breaking the law, and that YouTube may be knocking itself out of safe harbor status by enabling companies to do this. Then we saw that any YouTuber can have their channel knocked down by anyone because of the way that YouTube handles DMCA takedowns by applying a copyright strike to a content creator's account before they even have the chance to defend themselves. Both of these problems are so easily fixed. Instead of allowing Content ID claim abuse to happen, where companies get to monetize your content before you get to make $1 from it, and where you can be proactively censored. All YouTube has to do is de-incentivize companies from abusing the system like this by holding the monetization of the video in escrow rather than immediately making the proceeds of the video go to the claiming company. And when it comes to the DMCA takedown system, which is terrifying for creators because anybody can be knocked offline at any time, all YouTube has to do is wait to issue copyright strikes until the content creator has had a chance to defend themselves. Not only can this help protect our YouTube channel, but it could also help protect our well-being and help protect us from worrying as much about doxing threats and personal harassment and having our personal information released. If you found this insightful, please share it. This is a huge issue that every content creator has to deal with. Whether they've had to deal with it yet or not, it will affect everyone at some point in their YouTube career. And if you'd like to see more information like this, don't forget to subscribe.
You should watch this video too right now.
Grade A Under A has decided to go after the reaction community and in particular